The film begins with Ishida heading towards a certain place, where he stops at a high spot. Here, we discover that Ishida is indeed trying to commit suicide. He has decided to jump from this place, but suddenly a group of children playing with fireworks distracts his thoughts. At this moment, Ishida decides that if he is going to go through with it, he must correct the mistakes he caused in the past. As he reflects on his memories that led him to this state, we see that it all started when Ishida was a student in elementary school, known for his bad reputation as a bully, and all the students had this impression of him. One day, as usual, the teacher entered the classroom, but this time he announced that there was a new student joining them, named Nishimiya. Nishimiya introduces herself, and we learn that she cannot hear or speak well, but she uses a notebook to communicate with the students by writing down what she wants to say. This is what exposes her to bullying and harassment from the students, especially from Ishida, who begins to bully her just to get a laugh from the class and gain their attention. However, contrary to expectations, Nishimiya accepts this with an innocent smile. Due to all the bullying she faced, she started to see herself as the problem. The bullying from Ishida escalated to the point where he would take her hearing aids and throw them away. On one occasion, he came to pull her hearing aid away like before, but he yanked it hard, causing blood to start flowing from her ear. Ishida struggled in class with the situation he was facing, and the next day, Nishimiya was absent. The teacher entered the classroom, visibly angry, and it became clear that Nishimiya's mother had reported to the school that hearing aids were disappearing from her daughter, especially since these devices are expensive. The teacher decided to ask the students who was responsible for all of this, but no one spoke up. However, the teacher figured out that Ishida was the cause, and he used a different approach with them. All of Ishida's friends confessed against him, contrary to what Ishida had expected. In fact, the entire class admitted to every instance where Ishida had bullied Nishimiya. Ishida tried to shift the blame onto the other students, but they hadn't done anything, which was completely useless. The school day ended, and Ishida returned home to find that his mother had learned about the situation from the school and decided to withdraw money from the bank to give to Nishimiya's mother as compensation for what had happened. At this point, Ishida began to see the consequences of his actions, realizing that his bullying not only hurt others but would also hurt him and his mother, especially since she worked in a hair salon and didn't earn much money. The next day, Ishida entered the classroom to find Nishimiya at his desk, and he was surprised to learn that she had been cleaning it because a student had written insulting words about him. Ishida decided to talk to Nishimiya and asked her why she was being so kind to him, even though he had hurt her. The discussion escalated to the point where he hit her, and she tried to defend herself, but it was completely futile. All she could say is that she is doing everything she can, but he didn't understand that she always sees herself as inferior and is trying to fix that in a place where she feels different from them and even less than them. This was Nishimiya's perspective. The next day, the teacher comes in with the news that Nishimiya has transferred to another school, which makes Ishida feel guilty. He realizes that he is the problem and starts to feel weaker instead of being the one in control. People continued to bully him, and even his own friends bullied him because they knew about his bad personality and warned all the students about him. Here, we return to Ishida as he grows older, and we learn that he was heading to the sign language club in hopes of finding Nishimiya and returning to her the notebook she had abandoned due to the insults and the dirty drawings that the students had made in his notebook. However, he decided to keep that notebook. The right day came for him to present the notebook to Nishimiya and apologize for what he had done. When he arrived, Nishimiya saw him. However, she tried to run away from him out of fear and confusion. He followed her and found her. He tried to talk to her and apologized. Here, Nishimiya will be surprised that he learned sign language. He handed her the notebook and asked if they could be friends. However, she is unable to respond to him due to her shock from what is happening. Ishida changes. One day, Ishida wakes up and goes downstairs for breakfast. However, while he is having breakfast, his mother gives him an envelope containing all the money he has earned from his job. She notices that this time he worked hard and saved a significant amount. But strangely, she calmly asks him if he is thinking about suicide. Here, Ishida admits to her that he has indeed thought about it. His mother becomes very angry and threatens him that if he does not reconsider his decision, she will burn all the money he worked hard to collect. It later becomes clear that she learned about his suicidal intentions by seeing the calendar in his room, where all the dates after the 17th were crossed out, realizing that Ishida planned to end his life on that day. This is why he worked so hard, as he had quit his job because of this decision. However, Ishida decides to reconsider this decision, especially after seeing his mother's sadness and anger. But in the middle of their conversation, while his mother is holding the money, it accidentally slips from her hand, prompting her to speak. Ishida went to his school, where we see him rejecting everyone and accepting his isolation, believing himself to be at fault. The problem arose after all his circumstances changed and all his friends abandoned him, leading to a significant amount of bullying that reinforced this idea in his mind. He distanced himself from everyone, preferring to spend his days alone, tied to his mother and family, which is the reason that prevented him from committing suicide. After finishing school, he saw someone bothering another person and trying to take his bike, convincing him that he would return it. The boy urged Ishida to help him, but Ishida was distracted by his feelings, unsure whether to assist or not. However, he decided to help and spoke to the boy, telling him that he would give him his money in exchange for leaving the poor boy alone. Ishida waited a long time, but to no avail. The bike was stolen. He then decided to head back home, but while walking, he remembered he had a discount coupon for bread. This sparked the idea of buying bread as a reason to go out and talk to Nishimiya again, as he recalled that she liked to eat fish with bread, which he thought was the perfect excuse to engage with her more. However, when he arrived at her classroom, someone came out and stopped him from entering, saying that she was not there, even though Nishimiya was inside but did not notice him outside. As Ishida was walking away, he heard someone calling him from behind and was surprised to see that the one calling him was the same boy. The boy who was bullied earlier is now holding Ishida's bike after he spent the whole day looking for it as a way to repay Ishida's kindness. When he finds it, he returns it to him, and this is where they start to get to know each other. Ishida learns that the boy's name is Nagatsuka, and for the first time, Ishida has a friend and understands the meaning of friendship. They begin to hang out more and enjoy their time together. Ishida decides to go to Nishimiya's class again, and this time he resolves to try talking to her. However, upon arriving, he sees the same person again, but this time he approaches him with different words, telling him not to bother Nishimiya anymore because he is in a relationship with her. Ishida is shocked. But Nagatsuka intervenes to threaten this person, telling him that he must leave Ishida alone. Their voices get loud and the whole class gathers to see what is happening. Here, Ishida notices that Nishimiya is among the crowd. In a moment of panic, he decides to run away, but Nishimiya chases after him and tries to talk to him. He tells her that he was looking for any reason to meet her, and by coincidence, she also says that she was looking for a reason to meet him and talk to him. However, in the middle of their conversation, he notices that the notebook he gave her is with her. At this point, he tries to take the notebook back after realizing that this decision was completely wrong, especially since the notebook contains things that could hurt her feelings. Nishimiya refused to completely leave Ishida, but it was destined for him to take the notebook. After some scuffles, a notebook accidentally fell, and Nishimiya jumped into the sea to retrieve it. Ishida was worried about her and jumped in as well, but it turned out that a boy was watching them and took pictures of them. After the day ended, this boy posted a picture of Ishida in the sea online, and we learned that swimming was prohibited in that area. Because of this, Ishida was punished and temporarily suspended from school. After that day, a mother asked her daughter to wait, but she heard a strange sound coming from that place. She decided to go see what was happening and found that the person who claimed to be in a relationship with Nishimiya was sleeping and very upset, in a really bad state. When asked why he was there, he confessed that he had posted that picture online and apologized to Ishida. Ishida decided to forgive him and understand the situation, and he also decided to invite him to his house to spend the day after seeing him in such a bad condition. The boy indeed came over and ate with them at home, but when it was time for bed, he decided to wait for everyone to sleep before leaving. He walked out into the rain that night and found that Ishida was following him, worried about him in that weather, but he wanted to make sure he got home safely. He realized that this boy was not Nishimiya's boyfriend at all. He was actually her younger brother. All this time, Ishida had been treating him as if he were a boy, and it was clear that the reason Nishimiya acted this way was because of her mother, especially since after they all got home, her mother came out, approached Ishida, and without warning slapped him on the face, took her daughter and returned home, warning them not to associate with that boy again. However, that didn't happen, and the conversation continued between them the next day. He told her that he got a new phone and asked if she would like to add someone to the phone or not, in a roundabout way requesting her to add him so they could talk to each other. However, her response was completely different. Nishimiya mentioned Sarah, who was her only classmate in school and also her friend. After that, their journey to find Sarah begins, and finally they sweat. But she was at another high school. After they finally found her, Sora started talking to Nishimiya. In the middle of their conversation, Ishida decided to leave and told them he was going to the bathroom. However, on his way, he accidentally ran into Ueno, his elementary school classmate who used to sit next to him. It was clear that she was working at the club and invited him without knowing he was Ishida, but Ishida recognized her, so he took her to the club. Here, Ueno realized who he really was, but she decided not to meet him. Ishida was certain she wouldn't come, especially since he he waited a long time, so he decided to leave that place. On another day, Ishida was going to meet Nishimiya when he was surprised to find Ueno talking to him. She was shocked to see that Ishida had changed. The bully had become a different person, to the point that she described him as boring when she tried to annoy Nishimiya, and he refused, so she decided to leave him. Ishida didn't care and went to meet Nishimiya, who was buying him a gift, and presented it to him. She tried to confess her love, but he didn't understand what she was saying due to her difficulty in speaking, which frustrated her. They started gathering together again, and in the middle of their conversation, the topic of bullying came up and everything fell on Ishida. This broke him and shattered him to the point that he saw himself as the problem and felt it was impossible for him to change for the better. In all his attempts, he kept going back to square one, but he made a vow to himself that he would change. He began spending his dream time with Nishimiya and her little sister, and they decided to bring him to their mother's birthday. Nishimiya, who was bothered by his presence, eventually accepted